The moment a relationship ends, your nervous system experiences a sudden shock that feels like a physical drop. You are suddenly untethered from your primary source of emotional security, falling into a void you didn't prepare for. Evolution has hard-coded our social bonds as vital resources. When one snaps, the limbic system activates an ancient survival alert, treating the separation as an immediate threat to your safety. Your brain is reacting to the loss of a partner the same way it reacts to losing food or shelter. That alarm triggers a frantic drive to restore the bond. You fire off long text messages and call repeatedly. You try to use logic, pleading with them to remember the good times, hoping that if you can just explain your love clearly enough, they'll see the mistake they're making. But these efforts produce the opposite of the intended effect. Instead of drawing the other person closer, intense displays of affection after a breakup often make the ex-partner move further away, becoming colder and more unreachable with every message you send. To understand why your heartfelt pleas are being treated like a hostile intrusion, we have to examine the specific psychological defenses currently running inside the mind of the person who walked away. Before they spoke the words, your ex likely spent months pulling away and convincing themselves that leaving was the only path to happiness. By the time the breakup happens, they have committed to a new version of their life. This commitment triggers cognitive dissonance, a state where the brain fiercely protects its choices to maintain a consistent sense of self. Once identifying as the person who left, their brain is wired to stick to that decision. The logical brain builds a psychological defensive wall to shut out doubt, avoiding the painful possibility they made a mistake. Your attempts to reach out are processed as attacks on their autonomy. To avoid the mental strain of second-guessing themselves, their brain doubles down, reinforcing the choice by becoming emotionally unreachable. Secure behind this wall, they experience a temporary dopamine spike known as separation elation. Relieved of the pressure to maintain the relationship, they feel an artificial high, fueled by the novel expectation of total freedom. This is why they might appear surprisingly unaffected, posting photos where they seem happier than ever. They are riding a biological wave of relief that masks the actual weight of the loss. Your active pursuit is the friction their brain needs to keep those defenses high. As long as you are chasing them, you are validating their decision to run. The only way to bypass these defenses is to provide them with the one thing they didn't plan for: absolute silence. Stop the texts, stop the calls, and the social media monitoring. You vanish from their world entirely. When you stop pushing, their psychological defense mechanism loses its target. Without the friction of your pursuit, the need to defend their decision begins to dissolve. This graph illustrates the inevitable neurological crash. The initial freedom high plummets as the silence stretches on. The dopamine surge is replaced by a baseline of reality. The silence communicates a reality they didn't factor into the plan. You are truly gone. Their brain registers this as a permanent loss, triggering the same survival alarm you felt in the beginning. As the freedom high wears off, they enter a period of nostalgic reverie. Without your presence to remind them of the relationship's problems, their mind begins to fixate on the positive memories, leading them to question if the void they created was worth the cost. Weaponizing your absence forces their brain to confront the specific emptiness of the life they chose. While their mind is navigating this delayed grief, your focus has shifted. The weeks of silence have created a necessary distance. This period forces a reconstructed independence. You spend the first week managing the physical withdrawal of the breakup. But by the third, you're reconnecting with old interests and making choices without seeking their approval. These small, daily acts assemble a sense of self that no longer relies on their feedback. Eventually, their attachment drive overrides logic, and they reach out with a breadcrumb. It's a low-effort message to see if you are still waiting. Responding to this immediately hands the psychological power back to them. It provides the validation they need to stop worrying about your absence, allowing them to retreat behind their wall once again. But when you see that message, you realize you have already survived the most difficult part of the recovery. The urgent need for their validation has been replaced by the quiet confidence of your own progress. You can see the text for what it is, a sign of their uncertainty, not your worth. The distance allowed their regret to form. But its primary function was to prove you could thrive in the quiet. By the time they reach out, the power dynamic has shifted because you are no longer waiting for them to choose you.